worked hard to build your business, and now it's time to grow. Welcome to the Multiply Your Success podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dufour, CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team and a serial entrepreneur. And the purpose of our podcast is to give you a weekly dose of inspiration and education to help you multiply your success. And as we open today, I'm wondering if you have ever had a mental block that kept you from taking that next step to reaching some goal or aspiration that you might have. Or have you ever had that voice of doubt creep into your mind and stop you dead in your tracks? Well, I know I have at least once or more than once at some time or another, and it can wreak havoc on your progress and growth. And our guest today is Michele Molitor, and she spent the last 25 years working with folks like you and me, entrepreneurs and executives, and helping them enhance their capacity. She's the co-author of a book called Breakthrough Healing, and she provides us with amazing insights on how to be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared for your next mental block, or maybe the one you're going through right now. And a quick housekeeping item, we've had a lot of new subscribers over the course of the last several weeks, and just wanted to remind you, if you're new here, please stick around all the way till the end at the end of the interview, where we go through our 3 key takeaways and summarize what we learned from our guest, and we also talk about today's win-win. So let's go ahead and jump into our interview with Michele Molitor.
So I'm Michele Molitor. My company is Nectar Consulting, and I am a rapid rewiring expert. My clients love to call me the mind detective because I help folks rewire their deeper subconscious thinking for greater habits, success, and joy.
Wow, that is very concise. I love that. I love how you described all of that. So a rewiring expert sounds really interesting. But I'm always curious, how do you become a rewiring expert? How did you get here?
As the sign says, I've been at this. I'm just celebrating my 20th anniversary. I've been a professional coach now, Tom, for 20 years. And over the last 5 years, I've also been trained and certified as a hypnotherapist. And so I combine the two modalities together in what I call rapid rewiring. So over a period of 90 days, I'm able to work with my clients to take a deep dive and get at those core beliefs that they've been holding in their subconscious mind, sometimes for decades. They don't even know that they're there, but they've been running them all these years and creating the challenges, the trials, and the tribulations in their lives that they're really ready to get rid of. So I'm essentially a learning junkie. I've been on a extremely nerdy path of personal development for the last 20 plus years. And I'm always seeking new ideas, new information, new modalities, ways of allowing myself to show up more fully as my most authentic self. And then I take that and I share it with my clients through my work and helping them release the baggage from the junk in their trunk, right? We've all got stuff that we've been carrying around for far too long.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons I'm so excited to have you on the show is you talk about this idea of imposter syndrome. And this is certainly been a popular phrase that's been buzzing around. And so whether you read into it a whole lot or not, it's popping up on headlines and things popping up in social feeds and such. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, what it is, how it works, and how what you do helps with some of that.
Sure. So imposter syndrome is essentially a belief that someone holds about themselves of, I'm not really as talented as everyone thinks I am. I'm a little bit of a fraud, perhaps. I'm going to be found out. Even though you may have gobs of accolades and success and be an expert in your field, there's some part of you that feels that you're not enough. You're not worthy, deserving of receiving those accolades. And so you tend to kind of hide out and not really put yourself out in a bigger, bolder way that can really help others.
That's very interesting. Well, we, in our line of work, we work with a lot of just very successful entrepreneurs, what would be viewed, at least publicly, as very successful business owners, growth-oriented folks. And then now they're stepping into this new world of franchising, expanding or growing their business. And it's interesting how you've described that. I've seen that at times in some of our clients where I see very successful, accomplished people with great accolades, as you described, that have those reservations, I guess, some reservations that pop up. So how do you address or talk about this with people when that comes up?
Well, you may or may not be surprised by this, but oftentimes those limiting beliefs often stem from our childhood. I just was working earlier this year with a gentleman who's been an expert in his field for almost 30 years, really knows his stuff inside and out. But one of the beliefs he had growing up was, don't toot your horn. It's not polite. Really shouldn't speak about yourself too much, right? You got to keep it contained. And that was really preventing him from really expanding and growing his business. I shouldn't speak up. I shouldn't give talks. He was uncomfortable giving presentations and whatnot, because all of these beliefs were held in his subconscious mind. He wasn't consciously aware of it, right? He got programmed with this thought when he was a young child, right? Because of his culture and his background and his upbringing. And so when you can start to identify those by going in at a subconscious level, that's my specialty, is getting at those root causes and then taking out those old beliefs literally by the roots, letting them go, and then rewiring, reprogramming your thinking with new empowering beliefs with various tools that I utilize.
That's really interesting. Well, I love that example that you shared, and without revealing any secret identities of your clients, of course.
He's giving me full permission. It's all good.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, as I'm sure it sounds like you work with some very successful people in helping through this. So what are some things that fall into this imposter syndrome concern?
Well, absolutely. This is a true story. This just happened a few weeks ago. It still makes me smile. I was completing a third hypnotherapy session. So my work contains coaching sessions and hypnotherapy sessions, right? And after the hypnotherapy session, I always ask my client, so were you surprised by any of the imagery that came up in our conversation today? And he works in the insurance industry. He's a 30-year veteran, and he's really kind of dry and serious kind of person. And he kind of cracks this little smile. It's like, yeah, that it still comes back to my mother. Right. And so the ideas that we absorb, that we take on and believe about ourselves from our childhood, from our caregivers, from our mother, our father, good, bad, or ugly, right? I work with a lot of people who have dealt with some really not so pretty childhoods, right? And those events leave indelible marks in your psyche and in your subconscious, and those become the path, the road that you take in life, because that's all you know. It's like a fish doesn't know it's swimming in the ocean or in a stream. It just knows that it's swimming, right? So it depends on the atmosphere of what you grew up in and how that shapes your personality, how it shapes your choices, how it shapes your values, and how you believe in yourself. So by helping a client reveal those deeper layers held in their subconscious and bring them into the light, they can go, oh, through their adult eyes, that's not really true. I'm no longer that little boy or little girl in that place experiencing that thing. I'm strong and capable. I can believe in myself and know that I am enough. Being enough is probably the most common thing that I see, Tom, with folks.
Wow. That's and when clients and folks that go through this process and they start to see what's happening, they maybe have this mind I don't know, I guess kind of getting to this rewiring as I'm thinking about it. But so now they've recognized it. They're consciously aware of these thoughts and ideas that have been maybe bouncing around for a long time. So then what? Now I've got this information. What do you
He's
do?
hanging on the edge of his seat. Yes. So the one of the I'm not going to call it the secret ingredient because it's not secret, but one of the key components of the experience that I take people through is I create a customized guided transformation recording. So the last 30 minutes of our hypnotherapy session, I'm taking everything I've learned from them, the challenges that they've been dealing with, what we've uncovered, and I weave it into this recording I make that is instilling new, empowering beliefs, habits, thoughts, attitudes. And I mix in binaural beat music with it. And then their homework is to listen to it every night for 30 days. So as you're drifting off to sleep, you've got me in your ears and you're falling asleep to these soothing words. It's very calming. It's very relaxing. Most people fall asleep while listening to it, but that's okay because your brain is always listening. It never shuts off, even while you're sleeping. So your subconscious mind is just taking in these new words, these new phrases. And the cool thing is your brain loves repetition, Tom. So the more you think a thought, the more you hear some words, the more true they become for you, the more integrated they become in your brain, and you build new neural pathways. Just like you can still remember the words from the songs from when you were a kid, right? They're all in there because they dropped into your long-term memory. So that's what this process does. We're dropping into your long-term memory these new beliefs, habits, and strategies. I am enough. I do believe in myself. Of course, I'm an expert. I've been doing this for how long, right? And so as you start to change those beliefs, as you're building new neural pathways in your brain, that's why it's called rapid rewiring, because you literally are building new connections in your brain. You start to show up taller, brighter, more confident, filled with more self-esteem or self-worth that has this really powerful ripple effect in all aspects of your life and your career.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'd love for you to share. Can you share a few? So now someone goes through this process. What have you seen for some results? So you shared here some renewed or maybe new set of confidence, and what else do you generally see, or what have you seen in some clients?
Oh gosh, I've seen so many amazing transformations because the beautiful thing about this work is not only does it help someone increase their confidence, their sense of self-worth and who they are in the world, but oftentimes it helps heal physical challenges that have been a manifestation of these negative and limiting beliefs. So not only have people transformed and expanded their confidence, they've released dealing with IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome, for 15 years, or psoriasis for 30 years, or anxiety their whole lives, because they've changed the programming in their subconscious mind about who they see themselves to be. So a great example is a gal I just finished working with, and she's had anxiety her whole life. She's been dealing with this just panic and fear, and she was a scared rabbit when I first met her. And through our work together, she discovered that, who her mother was trying to have her be in the world was like her mother, who happened to be a narcissist, right? Versus her dad, who is much more introverted. And when she realized, she's much more like her dad, it was like I had given her a permission slip. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be an introvert and move through the world in the way that you need to move through the world, not the way your mother thought it was best for you. And she is 30 something, right? And so giving her that permission enabled her to shine more brightly, to step into utilizing her creativity in newfound ways, to show up more boldly in her work and ask for what she needs and set clear boundaries where before she wasn't able to do that. And she said to me at the end, she said, wow, this has really been a game changer for me. So I've been doing this work in this way for almost 5 years now, and I've witnessed so many amazing transformations in people, and it's really a gift and my joy to be able to witness that in people.
Well, it sounds amazing, and this whole transformational. It really sounds transformational, and really going through this. Well, what I'd love to do, this is a great point here to kind of transition into our format for the show. So before every guest goes, we have a chance to ask the same 4 questions. And so the first question we like to ask is, throughout your career, as you've gone through this, has there been a miss or 2 along the way that you'd like to share and something you'd learned from it?
Sure. So in my former life, I was a creative director in web development. And I'd spent 10 years getting to that illustrious corner office. And it brought me here to the San Francisco Bay Area. We were going to IPO. I had a magic golden ticket. It was very exciting. And instead, the market crashed. Miss number 1. Miss number 2 was I got bullied out of my job. Horrible experience. Shattered my confidence. But it was a gift because it had me discover coaching, which I realized was actually my true calling in life. And I went on to change careers and start my own company 20 years ago. And it's been a blessing ever since.
Wow. Wow. Talk about just taking that situation and turning it around. That's incredible. Well, let's talk about a make or 2 that you'd like to share. You've shared some awesome things already, but is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
A great make is being able to listen to my intuition and follow that and craft new exciting programs and offerings for my clients that really serve them. So I really just, pause and listen and allow that information to come through. And then my creative brain just like, I can't get it out of me fast enough sometimes. So that's really fun.
Well, how about this idea of a multiplier? Has there been anything that you've used along the way to help multiply or grow?
Well, I would definitely say there's probably 2 things. The first thing is asking for help, finding the right people to tune into, to tap into, to lean into, Tom, and get the help that you need. I grew up with a very strong case of, I'll do it all by myself. Right. And when I learned to overcome that and actually ask for help and allow myself to receive it, that has been huge, huge for me. And I think what has helped me do that is the time that I take to pause each day. I actually, earlier this year, I built a walking labyrinth in my backyard so I can go out and have quiet time with the birds, to pause and listen and allow my intuition to guide me as to what those next steps need to be and who needs to be with me along that path.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. I love the walking labyrinth. That's really cool. Well, and the final question we like to ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
Gosh, for me, success means getting to do what you love and loving what you do. I've worked with so many people around the world who are struggling, who are grinding through each day because they don't have a sense of connection to themselves, to their purpose or their passions. And I believe that we're all here to do something good, to be of contribution in some unique way, shape, or form, right? So being able to find what that is for you and stepping into that fully with your whole heart and soul, authentically, that's the definition of success. Being able to show up fully, authentically, and unapologetically for who you are, to do what you love and love what you do, and have a positive contribution on the world.
Wow. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I love that. Well, and as we kind of bring this to a close here, Michele, is there anything you were hoping to say or share or get across it you haven't had a chance to?
For anybody who's curious about this work, I'm more than happy to have a complimentary discovery call with you. You can always go to my website, michelemolitor.com, Michele Molitor, Molitor.com, and have a poke around. You can have a look at my calendar there and schedule your own discovery call and see if this is the right time for you to up-level your life and let go of that pesky junk in your trunk that you no longer need or want.
Yeah, great. And we'll make sure we include your website and calendar link right in the show notes. So anyone who's interested in scheduling that discovery call, appreciate that offer there. Thank you so much. And, one final thing I just was curious about, just as kind of a final thought, one of the things that I've been just kind of researching and studying anyways about the on a separate topic, but this whole idea of spiritual development, and you have your personal development, professional development, and a lot of what you're talking about. I'm wondering, would you classify or fit this into a spiritual domain, a personal development domain? It kind of falls into professional development a little bit too. It kind of fits in all of these categories. So I don't know. It just got me thinking while I was listening to you talk.
Yes, and it is all of those things, because you can't separate your personal life from your personal life from your professional life from your higher self, right? It's all integrated. And so my work is a very holistic approach. It's a mind, body, spirit approach, right? Our minds run us each and every day, but our body holds all of this wisdom and the emotional residue that weighs us down, right? And so when you're able to tap into all three of those places, it has a powerful and exponential impact, both personally on your well-being, your happiness, your joy, your career or business success, and allowing yourself to connect more fully with yourself to show up more authentically. And isn't that what we all want?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you for just, kind of an off track question here.
No, it's a great question. No one's ever asked me that, Tom. So I appreciate that.
Michele, one thing I forgot to ask, I had intended to early on in the interview, but one of the reasons this is pretty surface level stuff here, but I liked your name and logo when I saw it. I thought, oh, that's pretty clever. And I liked the logo. And if you're listening in, it's Nectar Consulting, and there's a little bee and a honey drop, and it's pretty cool. So I'm just curious, why Nectar? Where'd that come from?
No, I love this story. Actually, it came to me in a dream. So when I very first was looking to become a coach, I was going to be a business coach. That was my plan. And I met with someone who was a business coach. Like, what do you do? And what does this look like? And I hadn't been here in the Bay Area for very long. And I ventured up to Sausalito for the first time. And after our conversation, I wandered into this beautiful art gallery and discovered this work by this local artist named Daniel Merriam. And this painting just jumped out at me. I was like, oh, and this was like, for me at the time, it was a really big expense, but I was like, I knew that I had to have it. It's called like Honey to a Bee. And it's this amazing watercolor of this beautiful house with these giant, I call them butterbees. They're butterflies with giant fat bumblebee bodies. And for me, these bees, they represent so much, but bees, they're very hard workers, and they go out into the world and they go from flower to flower, and they extract the nectar, they extract the honey, not the honey, the pollen from the flowers, and they take back to the hive and they create the honey. And it's this honey that feeds them to go out and do their work in the world. So at the heart of Nectar Consulting is helping people tap into their own essence and find their good work to do in the world so they can be, do, and have all that they are, and to shine brightly and to live their best life.
You mentioned the word fulfillment several times in our conversation on and off air here. And I'm just curious about if there's any tie-in with, I really like Viktor Frankl's work and the logos therapy and so on. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
On fulfillment, well, I
Yeah,
think it's something
and if and just if that, sorry to interrupt, just if that is part of your focus or emphasis or what you've seen with your clients as a kind of that missing piece.
absolutely, absolutely. I think as humans, we all crave fulfillment in different ways, shapes, and forms, right? And when we're not in tune with who we are authentically, we seek fulfillment outside of us. And that can end up as, all sorts of various addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, shopping, television, gaming, you name it, because we're seeking that fulfillment, right? Your brain is seeking that dopamine hit to feel better. And so a big piece of what I do with my clients, the work that we do, is helping them tap into what's intrinsically, inherently true for them and who they are and what brings them joy. What are their core values? Because that's the place that you can find that joy, that fulfillment more easily when you're doing what you love and loving what you do. If you're not fulfilled in your work, it creates that sense of missing, right? And I've said so many clients come to me because they might have a beautiful life, air quotes. They might have it all together. They might look very successful. They might have all the trappings, but they're still not happy. There's not that sense of fulfillment, and there's a missing for them. And so I help them get clear on what's really important for them so they can discover their why. Why do you get out of bed every day to do what you do? And if it's not serving you, if not fulfilling you, then what shifts or changes, large or small, might you need to make to help you get there? Because life is short. Life is short. And so this is a true story. This was a couple of years ago. I was up in Berkeley, took myself to lunch, was writing some blog articles, and I overheard this conversation. Two gentlemen sitting next to me. And this one man was a professor at UC Berkeley, and it was his last day. He had retired after 30 years. He had retired. He's like, yes, today's the first day of the rest of my life. And I'm leaving tonight and I'm moving to Arizona and I'm finally going to be happy. And I thought, wow, that's so sad that you've spent 30 years of your life not being happy, grinding it out, doing what you think you should be doing to get to here. And a similar but different story, another colleague of mine had her own consulting company, and she had bought this beautiful house in the desert, and she finally had moved to her dream home down in the desert and retired. And 6 months later, she died from cancer. And so please, 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 I beg of each of your listeners, don't wait to be happy someday. Someday starts now. You can unlock the power of you, unlock your dreams, your desires, your passion, your purpose. And the sooner you do that, the happier you will be, and success will come to you, joy will come to you, and life will be far more beautiful than you can possibly imagine.
Michele, thank you so much again for being a guest on our podcast and for your time and sharing the information you did. And let's go ahead and jump into today's 3 key takeaways. So takeaway number 1 is when she shared the most common challenge she sees with high performers, high-performing executives, high-performing entrepreneurs, probably someone just like you that's tuning in here. And what she found and has found is that the number 1 challenge that her clients face is this insecurity about being enough, and that she helps with rewiring and combating this idea of imposter syndrome. And so I think that finding and takeaway is really interesting. So for whatever it's worth today, you are enough. Takeaway number 2, she said a really great phrase, and it was, do what you love and love what you do. Do what you love and love what you do. Really simple, really succinct. I thought that was great. And takeaway number 3 was from the multiplier that she talked about. And the one that has helped her the most is to ask for help and find the right people to help you out. So find those right people. And then the last takeaway, which was fantastic, I thought this was brilliant, when she said, you not only have to be willing to ask for help, but you also need to be ready and willing to receive the help, receive the information that you get. And isn't that so true sometimes? You have people that come in and you either ask for your advice, or maybe you're that person asking for advice. And you're willing to hear it, but you're not willing to listen to it or to receive it. You're willing to ask but not receive. I thought that was fantastic. And now it's time for today's win-win. So today's win-win from the episode comes from when Michele said, don't wait to be happy someday. Don't wait to be happy someday. I thought that was so well said. It was brilliant, just short to the point. And if you wait to be happy someday, that someday probably doesn't come. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the highs and lows. And enjoy the moment that we're in. And I think that's a great lesson, especially as the holidays are looming and coming upon us with Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and the rest of the holidays right around us here. And so that's the episode today, folks. Please make sure you like and subscribe and give us a review to the podcast. And remember, if you or anyone you know might be ready to franchise their business or take their franchise company to the next level, please connect with us at bigskyfranchiseteam.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to having you back next week.